Hi, how's it going? So I thought for this update I would just use video to record myself because it would be easier. Um, Basically, what I've done so far with my Unity project the past week is I've been focusing on the materials that we would use in the environment. And so I knew that the best way for us to play around with different materials in our environment and check out the lighting and see if like we need to change anything just really quickly would be to use Substance Designer in order to create unique materials. And I needed a way to quickly throw them onto my Unity project in order to just quickly use different ones on the fly. So what I did was um, I figured out you can save these materials as an SBSAR file. And what's amazing about this is you don't have to worry about Unity and their rendering, how they combine, metallic and roughness, they combine base color and transparency. Like, it does all the thinking for you whenever you import the SBSAR file. So basically, what I would do is I will go to my folder, and all these I already have inside. So I'll bring in something that I haven't brought in before. And one of the problems that I ran into was with the newest version of Substance Designer, those materials are not compatible with the latest version of Unity, so I have to use my home computer in order to make Substance materials with this older version of Designer. So I'm going to bring in this Rust. Well, first I'm going to have to open it in Substance Designer. And then what I'll do is I will right click and export the SBSIR file. And so we don't really have to worry about anything. And that's great. So now in Unity, I can go to my folder and I can go to my materials, and I believe, yeah, here's my Rust, and I can just drag and drop it onto my Unity project, and here it is. And it's so easy. All I have to do now is it created a material for me using all these maps from Designer, and I can just drag and drop it on. And I only have my skybox light on right now, but I'll just drag in a light for you to see it better. So it looks like my material that I brought in isn't the highest texture quality, but that's alright because this is just a demonstration. So yeah, it's really easy. I can just drag and drop different materials on. I made this magma during the winter break, this metal floor. They're just loaded in. And so something that we can do is with these materials in Designer, you can create parameters that you can adjust. And so one of these materials, I specifically made a lot of parameters for it. So here is my neon material. Um, this material is supposed to be white. Of course, because it's so dark, it's kind of grayish, but that's all right. And so whenever I can select this material, and in Substance Designer, I created these parameters that I can change whenever I want. So I can change the hue, I can change how reflective it is, and you can see it's adjusting it here in the preview window as well. I can also change how many stripes there are. I can change their width. I can change how they're rotated on the UVs. So I have a lot of I have a lot of ways to fine-tune my materials without having to retexture all of my maps in Substance Painter. All I have to do is, in Substance Designer, I can have one material, I can have all of these parameters that I created, and then whenever I export my material, all I have to do is just adjust it inside of Unity. So it's really easy, and I'm just really glad that I finally got it to work. Now, I think I already mentioned this. Yeah, but I was working on this rubber floor material, and I will show it to you because I worked really hard on it. Um, so here is my rubber floor material. Now, initially creating it, it was a lot more complicated. I'll show that to you anyways. Oh, so this isn't loading because it's not an SBS file. I accidentally loaded the wrong file. So I have to load the SBS file. This should work. I made a lot of different versions. Okay, well, anyways, I won't worry about that. Basically, I figured out how to import different icons that I made inside of Photoshop, and then I tiled them, and I wanted them to be rotated randomly and to have their position be randomly placed. But not too random because, it's kind of a rubber carpet material. It's like the carpet that you would see in a bowling alley. So I didn't want it to be completely random. I didn't want, icons overlapping each other. I wanted it to be random but not chaotic. So with this material, I haven't created any parameters for it, but the reason why I could not import this into Unity was because I created it with a newer version of Substance Designer. And that version of Substance Designer was the one that I told you I downloaded in the computer lab. So now I cannot create any materials in the computer lab, at least on that computer, and use them inside of Unity because it'll give me an error code and it won't import the material at all. So I think just in the end, I'm going to have to stick with using this computer or figure out a way to download an earlier version of Substance Designer on the computers in the computer lab. But it's not too bad of a compromise. So another thing that I did was I created the skybox, and so I was able to eventually find a kind of texture online, an HDRI texture online for space, and I had to tell it to not be 2D but to be a cube texture, and then let's see, be a cube map, or I think no, I had to create a material, and then I had to tell it to be a skybox material right here, and then I had to make it a cube map material, and so this is where you would drag in your HDRI material, and here's the picture. So what I did was, you can see there's some detail and there's some kind of shaded detail, and in Photoshop I tweaked the colors and I put it into Illustrator and I used the image trace in order to kind of only have 6 colors total. So it created these hard edges, and I layered them on top of each other with a color dodge, and so it kind of creates this shaded kind of cartoony look that still has some realism to it. And give me a sec to figure it out what else I've done. So another thing that I did pretty quickly was I took one of the trash cans that I believe Trey made, and I used the kind of logo for our bowling alley that Van sketched in Photoshop, and I was kind of playing around with emulating an old Coca-Cola trash can, and with the Coca-Cola trash can, it was completely red with kind of the logo in the middle. But I didn't want to copy it exactly, so I played around with using blue instead because we are kind of going for a cooler color scheme. And yeah, this is just a pretty quick texture job. Um, yeah, most of my time, sadly, was just trying to figure out those materials, the substance materials inside of Unity and how to get them working. So yeah, that's kind of sad, but you know, you got to do what you got to do. So another thing that I did was I took our hotel aspect, and I UV mapped it, and I kind of tweaked the model a bit. Now, in the past few days, Trey has actually changed the model, so this isn't accurate. But basically, what I did was I placed these textures on top of it in order to show that the UV map is working correctly, and that there's no kind of distortion anywhere. So one last thing that I did that I've done in the past week was I created this holographic material, and this is supposed to go on our pin or our pins for our bowling, the bowling pins, excuse me, and our bowling balls. Um, and here's a look at that. So it's supposed to be transparent. So what I had to do was having it be opaque, I turned it to fade. So this is pretty much what it's supposed to look like. Um, I don't have any what's it called? The things that I mentioned earlier. Parameters. I don't have any parameters on the hologram right now, but I am planning on making this a moving texture. And I looked up how to do that on YouTube, and it seemed pretty simple. Like the script seemed pretty simple. So we'll definitely be able to do that. And yeah, that's pretty much all that I've been doing this week. Um, yeah, it's always annoying whenever you run into problems like that transferring the Substance Designer materials to Unity and it doesn't work and it doesn't explain exactly why. So that took up a lot of my time, but I'm confident I can get things done.